All right, well, it looks like it is just about 1 o'clock Mountain Time. So let's get started. All right, well, welcome everyone. This is DES 370 Advanced Logo Design, and we are in our first week, our first session, and today is Tuesday, Tuesday, September 5th, 2017. Yeah, it's after those short holidays. Always good to remember what just what day it is, just what time it is, just what mod it is, all those good things. So yes, hello everyone. I will be introducing myself in a bit more detailed manner in the not too distant future. But I thought that we would start with just a little, with just a little video time so I could say hi, kind of see you all in a good way. Oh, welcome. Looks like we just had a student pop in, and that's always it's a good thing that we have a student popping in, and it always kind of throws me because immediately my camera leaves me, but I know it's still recording. So yeah, so I can't, I guess I can't watch myself as I speak, which really, I mean, who needs to do that anyway, but it is something I tend to do when I'm speaking, especially when I'm in Zoom. But anyway, yeah, welcome. Glad to have you here in person. Welcome also to all of our video watchers. Sorry you can't be here in person at this time, but I know that just with time zones, with work schedules, with children's school schedules, if you guys are anything like in my family, you know, sometimes it's just hard to fit school in. So glad you are making time to watch the video, and we'll try to kind of make you feel as welcome and as kind of part of the whole process as we can. So we'll make you feel like you're a good part of things. All right. Well, I guess we can stop the video right now. But as always, good to see everybody. And jump back into the slides. All right. So let's see where we are headed. What we are doing today on the day that has, kind of the fun and auspicious day of being the first day of Mod 9. So here's the agenda where we're going to be headed. I'm going to do just a little bit of a welcome type thing, kind of introduce myself. Then we're going to look to you all so you all can kind of introduce yourselves. Then we're going to jump into kind of an introduction of the course. I know that this is a 300 level course, so kind of implied in all of that is that you guys have been around for a bit, so you probably don't need too much of an introduction to the course. But that said, we have recently redesigned the whole master shell and kind of how the courses are looking. So I just want to make sure that you are kind of aware of where just the different bits and pieces are. Then we're going to talk about logos. We're going to do a bit of a kind of review, refresh on the logo process as far as kind of what is a logo, what isn't a logo, how logos can be classified, that sort of thing. Then we're going to talk about the design process, and that's going to lead us into assessment 1. And we're going to kind of get oriented as to how you might go about assessment 1. Just a couple kind of tips, tricks, ideas, that sort of thing. So that's kind of where we're headed. So I thought before we would officially jump into anything, even the welcome, that we would all just kind of like just take a couple seconds, take a couple deep breaths, and just kind of get ready to really engage with the course, engage with the mod for the next couple weeks. So I think that if you guys are anything like me, you kind of move at a lightning quick speed, especially through school. We have an accelerated program, so it always feels like you're either starting something new or finishing something, and that in-between process is pretty quick. So what I would encourage you all to do, whether you're here or whether you're just watching via video, is just a couple seconds, a couple deep breaths, and just, kind of let yourself be in this course right now. Last mod's done. This mod, who knows what's going to happen. But just for 10 seconds, just exhale, kind of be here. And, kind of open yourself to all the potential that's in this course, and to all the kind of different things you might learn. So it may feel a little crazy, especially if you're watching the video. But yeah, we're going to do 10 seconds of silence, just kind of clear your mind, kind of relax a little bit if possible. And then we're going to kind of jump in from there. Okay, so hopefully everybody's gotten some good deep breaths in. Feel like you're kind of focused. The work day, stress of everything, life stuff in general, kind of put that on the back burner just for the next little bit, so that you can really fully engage with whatever's going to happen here, and kind of the information, the contents, that sort of thing. Okay, so speaking of that, as we jump right in, I thought if you have been in one of my classes before, if you had me as an instructor, this probably looks very familiar. But one of the things I really like doing at the beginning of our courses is just having the map come up, and just having everybody place where they are geographically located on the map itself. So we have a fairly low attendance of students that are actually here in person. So we're not going to have too much map activity. But if you are, if you're watching via video, you can't place your dot on the map. But I would still encourage you to kind of look at this map, kind of picture where it is you are located, and then also just kind of have a couple seconds thinking about the idea that even though we are all not in the same physical classroom and we are kind of geographically dispersed, we are kind of all the same learning community. So for the next 4 weeks, we are a team in this. And just like with any good team, we want everybody to succeed. We want everybody to pass. We want everybody to survive. And then, beyond just surviving, we really want everybody to be able to do the best work that they can. And so kind of, just make that little personal commitment that you will be there for your fellow students. Kind of, you will show up, you will commit to doing your best, and then also to kind of helping everybody else do their best as well, whatever that may look like. So you can see I put my little red X up in Illinois. I am in the Midwest, Central Time Zone, just a bit west of Chicago, where I am currently geographically located. And it looks like we have somebody also located in South Carolina. Woohoo! Very nice. I hope you are not quite near the coast, since I hear that there's a lot of stuff happening in the ocean, especially on the Atlantic side of things. But yeah, we shall see. Very cool. So for everybody else who's watching, kind of where would you place yourself? Where are you located? And even more, what's going to be your contribution to this whole course and to kind of making this all a successful journey. Very cool. All right. One other fun thing I will say about where I am located. Today's the first day it actually feels like fall. So I'm like breaking out the sweaters, the boots. I'm kind of definitely a little fall overboard because it's really not that cold, but it just feels like something is changing, which is, great. It's very back to school-esque. All right, so let's clear all these. We're going to do 2 more exercises just to kind of check in, kind of get to know everybody. And again, I apologize if you're watching the video. It's like, oh my gosh, why are we doing this? Like, I can't participate. You still totally can. You know, just because you can't circle things with the annotation tools and such doesn't mean that you have to, you know, you're shutting off your brain. You can still contribute and see how, you know, what you would choose may or may not coincide with what we will be choosing. Okay, so my favorite color is kind of in the whole vein of logo design, kind of the branding journey that we're going to be a part of for the next couple weeks. So if you would kind of quote unquote logoify yourself, that's even a word, which I don't think it is, what colors would you choose, and why would that be? What might it look like? So my favorite color is what would you go with? I will just do it here. This is it. And if your color is not on the list, you know, you can feel free to consider it, add it, that sort of thing. I would say if you guys are anything like me, you know, you might have the favorite color scheme. Adding a couple more colors. Oh, it looks like blue, getting the check mark. Sweet. Yeah, I have a good friend who is definitely extremely into blue and can even like dial in exactly what shade, what tone, what kind of color blue is the fave, which is kind of fun and amazing. Whereas for me, like pumpkin orange, I'm there. October is my favorite month for many reasons, and one of it is because it seems like orange is everywhere. So good stuff. Very cool. All right, so we're gonna have let's see, one more. Yeah, if I were a font, what would I be? Again, this is kind of going into the idea about kind of logos. What do words? What does type communicate about us? You know, what would you show? What would you do? For me, let's see, what would I do? This is one that's kind of constantly changing. I would probably most consistently put myself here, but sometimes I also do slab. So I'll just write that in. So again, if you're watching via video, you know, what font would you, font or font category, where would you put yourself? How would you kind of place what you are? What's your thing? Okay, well, I don't see any weighing in from the from the in-person respondees. So we will stand this only momentarily. But yeah, kind of cool stuff to think about. I think that it is, oh, Helvetica, woohoo! Yes, you're joining me in the sans serif category. Sweet. I think it's fun, especially being able to teach a 300 level class because you guys have, you know, enough coursework, you have enough design experience, you just have enough kind of stuff under your feet, so you can really kind of think about think about these decisions, think about what you're showing, why it is, you know, what you like, what these things might say about you, all that good stuff. So final thing that I'm extremely curious about, and admittedly it's going to be a little bit difficult to share, so I think we might actually bring this into the classroom, which is my master plan segue. But yeah, does anyone have a personal logo? So did you have a logo that you've designed for a course project? Do you have a logo that you designed on your own? Do you have a logo that you use for client work? What's your state of personal logo-hood? So for this course, we won't be designing a personal logo. So if you're like, I don't have one, but hopefully this course will give me one, not so much. But I'm just curious to see, you know, kind of where you guys are and what your kind of current level of personal design is. So I actually do have a personal logo. I have a small freelance practice that I maintain where I do quite a bit of contract work. And so I do that under the Ruby Joy Design imprint. So this is what my personal logo looks like. And if you have had me for courses in the past, you will know that I have a Yorkshire Terrier named Ruby Joy. And so she is really the inspiration for my design studio name. And she is currently sleeping, which is good. But she will periodically make appearances, I am sure, with her voice in our sessions. So what's your personal logo? Do you have one? Are you like me, where you feel like designing your personal logo is the hardest because designing for yourself is, you're not, you're your own worst client. I know I could raise my hand with that. But yeah, kind of fun to think about, kind of fun to see. Okay, so speaking of thinking and seeing, if you're like, I have a personal logo, but I can't share it with you because I'm connecting via video, that is A-okay, because we're going to segue into the classroom and talk about how we might be able to share our personal logos, and even more, just share a little bit more about ourselves. So here's our classroom. We're going to kind of go step by step through a couple pieces that are very important for you to be aware of. But before we even do that, I'm going to just give a shout out, give a heads up to something that used to be very front and center in courses, but has since gotten a little bit hidden. And that is the introduce yourself activity for the course. So to find this is where it gets a little tricky. Easiest way is if you go to modules and then you just scroll down to introduce yourself. You'll also be able to find it if you go to, so this is the second way you can find it. If you go to week 1 and then hit next. So easy to find it both ways. It doesn't have a good way to get here off the homepage, which is why I feel like sometimes it gets overlooked. But yeah, so here is the introduce yourself thread. This is ungraded, but it would just help us, kind of get to know each other. And this is actually a fully redesigned, a new design course. So this is a new introduction. And it's kind of fun. As I was reading through it, I was like, this is great. I should do this. And I haven't done it yet, as I see no one has. But I would encourage you guys, as you're, getting into this course, that you do engage in this activity, just because it will kind of get you thinking along the lines of this course. So I won't read everything, but in this introduction space, let's all share an overview of our quote-unquote signatures as a way to introduce ourselves. What is your name? What is the unique context that has brought you to school? What do you think your signature might tell about you? Do you have a special way of making letters? Do you tend to sign your name in a more abstracted scrawl? Why have you made the choices you've made to represent yourself? And please share your story so we can build a strong learning community together. So I think one more thing you could share in this intro post as well is just a picture of your personal logo if you happen to have one. And it would just be fun to see, kind of what people have, where we are, kind of what we're bringing to this class, what we're bringing to this experience, and even more kind of what do we hope to do next. So you guys are all well on your way. So what's the future? What do you hope the future looks like for you? What might you be doing to get there as well? Okay, so that is the introduction post. Remember how to find it, modules, and introduce yourself, or homepage, week 1, and then all the way down, and then hitting next. So two ways to potentially get there. All right, so back to the main page. just a couple things I want to draw your attention to. First one is this button marked live session. I always feel like this is incredibly silly to do because if you are here, you have probably found this. And if you are watching the video, you have probably found this. But just in case, we don't want to overlook anything. You can find links to our course classroom, so how to get into the Zoom space for our sessions, here in the live sessions zone. So you can either click here for the link or copy paste this and also get a link. And then if you can't make the sessions, which I know is kind of true for the majority of you, the recorded part will be, well, not the recorded part, the recorded whole thing will be posted right here. And it generally shows up a couple, probably like 20 minutes or so after the session is done. So these sessions run from 1 p.m. Mountain Time to 3 p.m. Mountain Time. And so probably by about 3:30, there should be a recording posted. So just make sure you do watch these. There's a lot of information in the assignments and the assessments and the discussion that's kind of you can read through. But guarantee I will kind of just make things easier. I will demystify in the live sessions. And so it is, I think it's worth you watching. I might just be completely biased, but I think that it will just help you along in the process to kind of make time in your schedule for these. So these will be posted here. So two per week. And then, yeah, let me know if you have any questions or issues accessing or whatever. I believe at some point during this course, we might have daylight savings time, but we'll cross that bridge as it comes. All right, so next thing to just kind of give you the heads up on is course information. So here you can read about the course description, you can read about the course objectives. This is the syllabus essentially for this course. If you're anything like me, when I was a student, I hear the word course syllabus and I immediately want to switch over to Facebook. Stick with me. It's got a lot of cool stuff in it. I think syllabi get kind of a bad rap because they can be very boring. But just for this, for this little snippet, it's good to read through and just kind of get an idea what you are signing up for, and to just get an idea what the next 4 weeks is going to hold, so you can kind of anticipate what's coming. You can kind of just know what you're going to be doing. So you can see here, at the moment, you may not be able to do this, but in 4 weeks, you should be able to do these 4 things. So the first is create a unique wordmark logo. The second, discuss the process of professional logo and identity design. The third, explain the importance of typographic principles within logo design. And the fourth is going to be integrating and extending a logo across diverse delivery platforms. So as this course, you probably guessed from the title of this course, we are advanced logo design. So we are pretty much going to be really digging quite closely and quite deeply into just what a logo is. And then also how you create logos, how you can become more comfortable creating logos, things to be aware of as you create logos. So all of these kind of different bits and pieces. So the key word for the next 4 weeks will be logo for sure. So those are the course objectives. Then we have a variety of learning objectives that we're going to address each week. So each week we have about 3 to 4 different things that happen. So I won't read each of those because we will address them week by week. But kind of cool to just see what's there, what's going to happen. As most of our courses here at IU, this one does not have a textbook, but it does have different resources. So each of the materials will be available. So we're going to kind of just take a quick look as to where those are, so everybody is oriented into the right ways. Then here's course roadmap. This is just kind of an overview of how long, on average, you might need to dedicate to this course. So you might say, whoa, 25 hours, that's like a full day of coursework. What? It is a bit of a challenge, mostly because this is a 300 level course. But, 24, 25 hours, if you just do small bits every day, you will get there. That's kind of the most important thing. And I think that one of the things that I hope that you can learn when you are in school, because it will just help you tremendously when you're a designer, is just time management skills. I have so many students every mod that wait till Friday night to begin a project or Saturday to begin a project, and just it's stressful beyond comprehension in many ways. So if you have the ability to just do, one or two things every day, they don't have to be big things, but just little stuff adds up. So if you have the ability to kind of put that time into it, I would really encourage you to, because there's so much good content. There's so much good potential for you guys to develop some killer portfolio pieces in this course. But that's only going to happen if you make time for your own working process, if you make time for the content, if you make time to engage. So it's not find time, because nobody's going to be able to find it. It's going to be intentionally making it so that you can get what you need to do and get that done. So all right, so you can see too, week 3 is a little bit off. Weeks 1, 2, and 4 a little bit intense, so kind of plan accordingly. All right, and then we have the topical outline. So you can see kind of the flow of content. So we're going to begin a logo, revise, refine, do some symbols, supporting elements, and then look at extending the logo across a variety of different things. So, and then once again, we have, speaking of time, even more time kind of broken down in an even more granular fashion. So how much time reading might take you, discussion, assignments, research, lectures, all that sort of thing. So kind of cool. Hopefully, if you're thinking that syllabi are boring, hopefully, we were able to see that they're not quite as boring. They really do tell you kind of what's ahead. You can anticipate and see what might come out of here. So always 60% at least is what we're aiming for, so that we can pass. We want 100% completion in this course. So that's what we're all going to be cheering on for. All right, so we don't need to do that too much. We'll move over into instructor contact. So here's my own contact information. Me in a previous hair color. I will just point out the elephant in the room there. But yeah, so here is my email address, telephone number, Skype name. If you have any questions, if you have anything that happens during the mod, if life gets in the way, if you are somebody that's affected by some extreme weather, which looks like there's going to be lots of chances for that in the near future. But yeah, anything that happens, please just keep me posted. So I'm extremely open to being flexible. I have courses that have a lot of grace margin built into them. I understand that you guys are all doing school alongside the rest of your lives, and so that kind of gives a little bit more complexity than if we were all on a campus together, just living and doing this. So so I'm very open, but you do have to keep me posted, because if you don't tell me, there's no way I'm going to know. So kind of let me know sooner than later. And then just a little bit about me. So I've been with IU for now over 6 years. I know it says over 5 years. I guess I have to update that. But yeah, so I was an online student working on my master's degree at the Academy of Art University. And I've finished that up. And I'm now a doctoral student with Athabasca University. And so that too is a fully online program. And so I really get the whole online learning experience. I'm a super fan of the online learning experience. Like, I think I am, I'm like the number one proponent of it. But it does take a special person to be successful. And the fact that you guys have made it to a 300 level class means that you are probably that special person. So, keep up the good work, keep up whatever's, brought you to this point so far. And really, be excited, be encouraged, because you are almost to the finish line. So I do have a little Yorkshire Terrier, Ruby Joy. I enjoy drawing, writing, hanging out with friends. I enjoy fall, all those good things. Okay, so let's see if there's anything else I need to point out to you. Most important thing, contact info. I love texting, so text me instead of call me. That would probably be easier, but if you need to call, if you want to chat, that's fine too, for sure. All right, so let's see. Course information, we did that. Readings and videos. So this is where you will find the different course media for each week. So it's a variety of different readings and different Lynda videos, just different things to be aware of. So this is super cool. This course has actual readings. A lot of the courses in the past are pretty Lynda video heavy, but I would encourage you guys to download these PDFs and just look at, give it a browse, see what's there. So this one's cool. It's only 4 pages, so not too much. I apologize for the scan content. I think this is an article from 2004, so however they digitized it, it's a little rough, but hopefully everybody can make it out. This is kind of cool though, custom fonts, the process of creating a custom font, kind of cost, pricing, success. So kind of cool stuff with this. Lyric Opera of Chicago. Woohoo! Kind of fun, so check that out. And then the other reading is You're a What? Font Designer. So the kind of the subtitle of this week is all about using fonts and typography in logo design. And so this is a really cool article about the whole world of graphic design that is just basically developing fonts. So somebody does that. That is somebody's job. If you're into fonts, maybe it would be a cool job for you. It's a super detail-y thing, but it's really cool as well. So you can read this article, kind of learn about what goes into custom font design, and just get an overview about all that's there. So I will say I love fonts. I love working with fonts. There's a little part of me that thinks that I would be a terrible font designer, mostly because I'm just not that detail oriented. But I'm glad other people are, and other people can see, the beauty in a serif and curves and angles and that sort of thing. So definitely, check it out. Kind of cool. Look at this. Median annual wage of a font designer, $44,000. Not too shabby for sure. But yeah, so that kind of advertisement. All that to say, check out the readings, check out the videos, just check out the cool stuff that's included in this, in the course materials, so that you can get a really good kind of overview of what's kind of the different materials that will help you succeed for this week. Also Pinterest, if you've looked ahead, assessment 1, all about potentially using Pinterest. So there's lots of good content about how to make that work here. And good stuff. Okay, so this is course media. And again, you can find course media under readings and videos. So it's a little tricky because it doesn't say course media until you hover over it, then it says it, but just know course media is there, and check it out, probably toward the beginning of the week, just so you can help kind of orient yourself to the whole scheme of what's coming ahead. All right, so one more thing to be aware of, and that is just the announcements. So I will periodically be posting announcements. Apparently I went crazy on Sunday and then didn't post any more, but I'll get on that immediately. But yeah, so just valuable extra stuff, things to check out, websites to visit. The announcements are always kind of a lot more live than the rest of the class, because it's just kind of as I encounter things that I think you all might be interested in, because they relate to the content or concept of our class. I just put them here, so definitely just give it a check if you haven't. One thing I did want to say, just give it a further spotlight, is that we will be using critique as a learning methodology in this class. So basically what that means is that when you complete a project, I will be showing it in class the next week, talking about kind of what's working, what could be better, just kind of giving you some live feedback and audio feedback at that. So it's a really good way to learn. It kind of is the signature kind of way that graphic design and kind of arts in general have been taught and students have learned in the past. So it's really good, and it's actually how your life will go once you are a professional working designer. People will be constantly talking about and sharing and giving you feedback whether you want it or not. But yeah, so that's kind of what it is. That said, I know that we are not yet in the quote-unquote professional world. So if you don't feel comfortable having your work shown in class, if that's not something that feels good to you, just let me know and I would be more than happy to honor that. But I will just need something in writing, so via email, kind of saying, hey, I'm great at seeing what other people do, just don't show my stuff. And I'll say, great, no shame, no worries there. So just kind of heads up on that. All right, so I think that's it. Let me just take one more check of the homepage just to make sure. Yeah, looks good. Okay, and of course, daily checkpoints. Always check those out. 5 points. Want to get that done. Okay, so let's jump back into our slides. So if you are here in person, or if you're watching via video, you have any questions about anything that I presented of the classroom, kind of finding things, overview, anything like that, please let me know, and I will, kind of try to answer, try to connect you, that sort of thing. Okay, so as we kind of transition, we're going to go over. Looks like we have a question. No question so far. Sweet, very cool. Okay, so we're going to transition. We're going to talk a little bit, do a little bit of review of what is a logo, that sort of thing. But I thought before we do that, we do one kind of more personal check-in. So what I'm curious about, what's your logo level? So where are you along this kind of overall scheme? So have you created a logo for a freelance client? Have you created a logo as a volunteer for someone? Have you created logos for school? Or last but not least, do you hate logos? And yeah, what would you circle here? And you can circle definitely more than one. So what's your logo level? Okay, looks like we have A, B, and C. Woohoo! Somebody's doing some freelancing. Fabulous. Very cool. Okay, and looks like none of the above. Uh-oh. Well, hopefully you can at least be C, since one of the prereqs for this course was completing logo design, which is a course in the program. So you've probably done it, you maybe just don't remember, which again is totally fine. Okay, so it looks like of the representation of students who are in class now, we have kind of the full spectrum. So some students who have done some freelance work, other students who are kind of just in the creating logos for school projects type scheme. Looks like we have nobody who's doing D, I hate logos. I will actually say, when I was in grad school, I had a couple of courses that were kind of, just particularly logo designed, and I wasn't really a fan of designing logos, and they're still not kind of, if I have to design anything, that's kind of low on my list. So if you're kind of a logo design hater, it's okay. I kind of get your feeling. That said, since I've graduated and since I've done some freelance and contract work, I've actually been making quite a few logos. And it is kind of one of those things that the more you do it, the better you get. And then the better you get, kind of the more you like it. So if you find yourself as kind of the I'm not so into it camp, you never know. Like, you maybe will be called on by a client to make several. And then you may, get kind of into the logos as well, which is kind of a cool thing. All right, so here's our learning objectives for the week. So first one, describe 3 qualities of a wordmark logo. Second one, identify 3 attributes that distinguish a wordmark logo that uses a custom font from a wordmark logo that uses a stock font. Number 3, identify the relationship between brand keywords and logo visual characteristics. And number 4, identify a viable strategy from research to solve a visual problem. So we're going to kind of, this week in our 2 sessions, we're going to talk a lot about wordmark logos in particular, and then we're going to kind of look a little bit at the research and kind of keyword strategies. I'm sorry, they're doing construction outside my window and it's apparently very loud. Research and keyword strategies that go into kind of logo creation. Okay, I just momentarily relocated, so hopefully it's not quite as noisy. Wow, it's the middle of the day. Wildness happening, apparently. But anyway, so yeah, these are our learning objectives. So kind of where we're going to be headed. All right, so as this is advanced logo design, I thought it would be important that we all kind of start with just a basic kind of definition, kind of overview of what logos are and kind of why they're important, how we can kind of engage with them, that sort of thing. So we're going to filter logos through the what, why, and how kind of different triangle. So we can really make sure that we're kind of on the same page when it comes to discussing what a logo is and why it's important and that sort of thing. So what, why, and how. So first off, what is a logo? So if you're here in person, if you're watching via video, what would you say a logo is? So for example, if you're talking to, a friend or family member and they're like, hey, what class are you in this term? Like, what are you studying in school? And you say, oh, advanced logo design. And they say, huh, interesting. Like, what exactly is a logo? What would you tell them? What would you kind of come up with? And you can feel free to type it in the chat box, or if you're watching via video, kind of answer in your head, answer at the screen, kind of whatever you want to do. How would you define logo? What might that be?
That is basically the face of the company, something to recognize, to basically tie into a company.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, I like the idea that it's the face of a company and kind of yeah, that initial thing that you really recognize, that you really see. Excellent. Very cool. All right, so I'm totally going with that definition because I like it better than mine. But this is kind of the definition that I came up, that I kind of thought of. So a logo is a word, a symbol, or a picture, or a combination. Oh, and a combination mark is kind of a mashup of the two. So kind of like the idea that, yeah, the logo is like the face. It's the thing that you see. It's the thing that you recognize. It's kind of the thing that sets a company apart. Kind of makes it memorable, that sort of thing. So of it too, it's a word, it's a symbol, it's a picture. It's a combination mark, that's going to kind of be a mashup of the two. So word, symbol, etc. So here's another kind of check-in point. So is a logo also a brand? So we say a logo is kind of like the face of the company. Is it also a brand? What do you guys think? And again, if you're watching via video, what do you think? Is a logo a brand, or is a logo something different? Okay, so this is admittedly kind of a trick question in a lot of ways. Is a logo a brand? Not entirely. A logo is a part of a brand, but a brand is something much larger than just a logo. So a brand is really kind of everything and then some about a company or an organization, whereas the logo is kind of more just like that front physical face, representing and kind of setting apart the company. So is a logo a brand? At its most basic, no. But a logo is certainly a valuable element to a brand. So kind of a good distinction to keep in mind. I think it's tricky a lot of times when you're talking graphic design, because people tend to think logos and branding are the same thing. And they kind of are so closely related that it's easy to get them confused. But I would just encourage you, as you're kind of going through this class, that you are very intentional when you're talking about kind of what you're doing, that you keep logos and brands separate. So, a logo is an element of a brand, but you don't say you're taking a branding class. This class is very much logo designed. So it's just the facet of the logos. We're just designing the face of the company. We're not designing, the attitude, the character, anything that's kind of the larger scheme. So is a logo a brand? No, but a logo is a part of a brand system. So kind of a good distinction to keep in mind. Okay, so a logo is a visible symbol of a brand, but it's definitely not the complete brand. So keep that in your back pocket as well. All right, so what are logo types is the second thing that we're going to look at. And these are basically going to be 7 different types of logos that you can create. So as we saw here, logos are kind of word, symbol, picture, kind of a mashup of the many. So they can very roughly be separated into 7 different kind of overall variations. And again, this may or may not be review, depending on kind of how much you remember from previous courses. And there's no shame if you don't remember, because I know I have a terrible memory, so I know sometimes things don't stick. But yes, there are basically 7 different types of logos. So there's the letter mark, the word mark, the pictorial mark, the abstract mark, the mascot logo, the combination mark, and then the emblem mark as well. So it may seem like, woo, that's a ton of different logos, like, wow, which is what I always think. But it is kind of easy if you think about them as separated into 3 different camps. So we have the first two, which are the word mark and the letter mark, and those are really about using primarily words and letters. Then we have 3 through 5, which are really reliant on pictures and symbols. So pictorial mark, abstract mark, and mascot, all about the pictures, whereas word mark and letter mark are all about the words and letters. And then we have 2 combination marks at the bottom, and that is literally the combination mark, which is a word with a picture plus a symbol. And then we have also the emblem logo, which is also considered a combination. So at the very high level, a logo is the face of a company. And then kind of what that face looks like generally takes one of 3 directions. So whether it's words and letters, pictures and symbols, or a combination. And then once you're in those 3 different categories, you can kind of further branch into a couple more kind of specialist categories. So you might be asking, what are actually each of these things? This is a design class. Why are we just reading? Let's see pictures. And if you are asking that, you are in luck, because we're going to take probably about the next 10-ish minutes just to break down what each of these are further, and then also look at examples so you can just kind of orient yourself accordingly. So kind of a spoiler alert is we are going to be really focusing on these 2 for the course, over the course of this mod. So this stuff is really fun, these 3 through 7, but we're primarily going to be focusing up here. So just kind of keep that in your head. If you want to kind of jump down here instead, I would be quite open to it, but it's your choice. Your choice ultimately. Okay, so we are actually going to look at each of these 7 types, and we're going to go in reverse order because we're going to end with these guys, mostly because, as I said, these are the ones that we're going to really dial into this mod. So our first one that we're going to look at is the emblem. So the emblem logo consists of a font inside a symbol or an icon. Excuse me. Things you can think about are badges, seals, and crests. These logos tend to have a traditional appearance about them that can make a striking impact. Thus, they are often the go-to choice for many schools, organizations, or government agencies. So basically, an emblem is a fancy logo. And here are a couple different examples. So you can see pros and cons. They tend to have a high impact. They tend to feel classy, elegant, and refined. Kind of the cons are that they are less versatile. So you kind of can't take them apart and have them actually look like anything. They kind of, once you take it apart, you kind of lose its symbolism. And they're kind of hard to replicate and resize. So kind of the goal of a logo is that it works very well tiny and it works very well huge. So with these emblems, they kind of get a little bit tricky when you make them tiny, but they're kind of cool. Like I love Starbucks, so I love the Starbucks logo, and I like the combination of kind of the shapes, the image, and then the type kind of all being together as well. And like Harley Davidson, it looks just so solid and strong. Then the Harvard logo, of course, it looks very fancy, with some different letters and things in it and all that. So this is an emblem logo. So font inside a symbol or an icon. And actually, if you're kind of into like hipster logos, it seems like they tend to do a lot with emblems. Kind of words inside of shapes is a thing, that's hot right now. So kind of cool as well. Okay, so next one, probably the most common, is going to be the combination mark. So a combination mark is a logo comprised of a combined word mark or letter mark and a pictorial mark, abstract mark, or mascot. The picture and text can be laid out side by side, stacked on top of each other, or integrated to create an image. So combination marks, highly versatile. They're easy because they have the name and the mascot associations right there. That said, they're a little bit harder to construct because getting an image and type to work together in a way that's visually pleasing and makes sense kind of can be a little bit of a a little bit of a challenge, especially from a design point of view. So kind of it's really cool, it's really good, but you have to try a lot before you really kind of get it to work. So this is the combination mark. So the shape, the illustration, the image is kind of interlocking or interconnected with the name of the company itself. So it's literally a combination of an image and type. Okay, so next, moving right along, going into kind of the more visual, image-based parts of logo design, is we have the mascot. So if you're anything like me, you hear mascot and you think of like sporting event, person dressed in like goofy character. And that's actually a pretty good thing to think of with a mascot logo. It really does kind of capture what's there. As you can see here, a mascot is simply an illustrated character that represents your company. Think of mascots as the ambassador for your business. So here's a couple examples. So the guy from KFC, the Kool-Aid man, Mr. Peanut. So these little characters that have been created to kind of embody or kind of showcase the brand are considered the brand mascots. So pros and cons, two pros, well, probably more than that, but two that we're going to showcase. They are very highly memorable. So, once you've established who this character is and that it represents this thing, everybody sees the character and thinks of the thing. So that's kind of cool. So highly memorable, and then creates atmosphere, creates whimsy. You kind of get an idea as to who the target market is just by looking at how the mascot has been created. So it really kind of dials into, the consumer, kind of who it connects to. A couple cons of a mascot logo are that it really can feel very abstracted. So, Mr. Peanut kind of looks like a peanut, but, he kind of looks like a dancer from the 20s as well. The Kool-Aid guy, he kind of looks like a picture of Kool-Aid, but it's a little bit strange and kind of a stretch. And KFC, he looks, well, I guess he's the colonel, but I'd say he looks nothing like a chicken, but he's kind of the one who cooks the chickens. So it can be kind of abstracted. It can be hard to make the connection. And it can also produce negative emotions. So if you just didn't like the style of the illustration, you didn't like the style of the mascot, it could lead you to not like the company itself. And that's a little bit of a tricky thing because, companies want people to really, like and engage with their logo and with who they are. But if they're kind of turned off by the logo itself, then it's not a good thing in many ways. So mascots, highly memorable, really create a good sense of atmosphere, but can feel kind of abstracted, can produce negative emotions, just because it is all about if you like and if you connect with the whatever the look and feel of the mascot is itself. All right, so moving right along. So we have the abstract mark next, and these are actually, I will say, my favorite logos. So an abstract mark is a specific type of pictorial logo. Instead of being a recognizable image like an apple or a bird, it's an abstract geometric form that represents your business. So here's a couple different ones. So you can see BP, they have like that kind of energy flower thing. Adidas too has kind of the organic shape. And then Pepsi has kind of the swoosh. Nike kind of has the swoosh thing going on. So basically with these abstract marks, they really are just kind of an abstract geometric creation of something. And the idea is that if you show it enough times with the company's name in the context of how you're advertising the company, people will start to pick up that this is the symbol for your company. And then, that will be the logo itself. So kind of pros and cons again. Pro is that it's culture free. So it really doesn't, just target one person, one people group specifically. It has a much broader appeal. Second pro, you can really cultivate emotion through color and shape. Color is a huge, huge communicator. And so, you can play with the color and the shape itself rather than look at kind of physical concrete symbols to communicate something about the company. Cons are it can feel too abstracted and it's very hard to make it memorable. So I said that this is my favorite type of logo to create, and it's because they're so abstracted and they're so fun to make. But I've found from personal experience that clients tend to really like things that are representative. They don't like abstracted symbols, and I don't know if you guys can relate to this too from any client work that you've done, but you can make so many cool abstracted things in Illustrator, and then it's always the client's well, that's an interesting shape, but how about we just do the literal thing and go with that instead. And every time that happens, my little designer heart goes, "Ah!" But at some point, I will be able to successfully make an abstracted logo and get paid for it, but it just hasn't happened yet. Okay, so moving right along, we have the pictorial mark. The pictorial mark, also sometimes called a brand mark or a logo symbol, is an icon or graphic-based design. It's probably the image that comes to mind when you think quote-unquote logo. So pictorial mark is literally a picture of something. So a pro is that it shows what it says. It's clear and graphic. Kind of a con is that it can be hard to distill, and also it's hard to make memorable if you have kind of a new starting out company. So you can see here the very classic Apple logo. So the Apple logo literally is an apple. So you see it and you say Apple, and that's the name of the company. Target as well. You see the Target, you say Target, and it's the name of the company. Twitter's a little different because, it's not bird, but it's kind of so closely tied with Twitter, tweeting, bird, kind of all that imagery tied together, kind of connected. So, so pictorial marks, literal mark of something. And then we have abstract marks, which are kind of more the geometric, colorful, kind of abstracted thing. So, for example, I was working with a client, and they wanted a logo to promote a new experience they were having called The Table. And so I was creating all these really cool abstracted table-y things about connection and people and overlapping and networking and things. They weren't going for any of those, but they did want a pictorial mark. And so we ended up just making a literal table. So you could see the logo for the table, and it was a table. So it kind of, went from being an abstracted mark to being a pictorial mark, and kind of connecting that way. So that's that. Okay, so we have motored through 5 of the different 7 types of logos, and we're going to stop after these final 2. But again, as I said previously, these final 2 are kind of where we're going to camp for a lot of this course. So we want to make sure that we're really clear on kind of what these are, and just kind of the intricacies of these final 2. So first one's going to be letter mark. And a letter mark is a typography-based logo that's comprised of a few letters, usually the company's initials. So the letter mark is all about simplicity. By utilizing just a few letters, letter mark logos are effective at streamlining any company brand if they have a long name. So letter mark, also known sometimes as a monogram. So that's the other side of this. So here are some letter marks: HBO, IBM, NASA. So it's kind of taking the first letter of the company's name and creating kind of an interesting mark with that. So kind of pros and cons again. A pro is that it's short and concise. It's very easy to reuse. So you can make these letter marks small, you can make them big. Doesn't really matter. They tend to kind of work in any and every situation. A couple of cons is that they can be very hard to decipher. So if you don't know what the company is, if you just see like a string of letters, that makes you even less likely to know what the company is. So you have to be kind of careful. Another thing that's not on here as a con is you have to make sure that the acronym doesn't spell anything unfortunate. So you kind of want to like keep in mind what the name of the company is, how the letters kind of come together. As designers, I think sometimes we get very close and we kind of miss any obvious acronyms that are like, oof, don't want to be saying that. So it's kind of important to keep that in mind. And then also they're highly font dependent. And so you just have to be a little careful that you find kind of the right font or that you create the right font. And that also too can be a negative, just because if you have the wrong font, then it all kind of goes downhill because there's just such a minimal kind of streamlined logo. Okay, so those are letter marks. And last but not least, we are going into the word mark. So a word mark is a font-based logo that focuses on a business's name alone. So letter marks, first letters of multiple words of the company. Word mark, just the company's name. So here's a couple examples. We have Coca-Cola, we have Visa, we have everybody's favorite, Google, as different kind of good letter marks. So again, pros and cons. Easy to associate with the brand name because the name of the company is literally right there in the logo itself. They're easy to create. So again, it is a logo, it is a font. So you don't have to really think about symbolism too much. You can just think about, how you're going to actually show the name of the company. On the other side, that's kind of a tricky thing because it is so font dependent. And as we're going to see in our discussion, you really have to think about what the font is saying because it's extremely minimal. And so it's, there's no hiding. There's kind of no getting around, if it's not working in many ways. And then, of course, final kind of negative for a letter mark is that it can feel a bit generic. So I know Google got a ton of heat when they changed from their serif to their sans serif, and it was mostly because it just felt so generic. So how can you keep it memorable with a font and still, how can you keep it unique and still kind of keep it interesting when you're just using a font? And that is definitely something to wrestle with for you as the designer. So, okay, so let's look one more time at the whole scheme so we can see them all again. It's kind of cool. I mean, isn't it to see like just how many different types of logos there are? And there are so many different types of logos, and yet you can really kind of separate them into these different categories and kind of see how they're working, see why they're working that way, and just kind of what's going on there. I would encourage you, and this is kind of like informal homework, as you are just like going about life, like especially if you're at like the grocery store, watching television, with your kids, at restaurants, whatever, just kind of look around and see what logos you're surrounded by and just see if you can kind of place them into one of these categories. Like, do you tend to see more of one category than another? Like, do you tend to see lots of word marks or letter marks? Or I feel like I see a ton of combination marks. But what do you guys see? It could be kind of a fun, just a fun thing to kind of engage your mind and kind of just think critically and, kind of integrate what we're talking about in class with kind of your day-to-day life. Okay, so let's move into a couple different things. Okay, so winning with, this is going to be a total tongue twister, winning with word marks. Try to say that quickly about 5 times and see what happens. Okay, so here's our classroom again. And here's the reason why we're going to talk about winning with word marks, and a couple different reasons. So the first one is going to be because in discussion, you all are going to be talking about word mark logos, what a word mark logo is, how you can create it, all these lots of different stuff. So we're not going to read discussion together or anything, but I'm just kind of giving you a heads up. Check it out. There's lots and lots and lots of really good content. So this is reason number 1. We're talking about winning with word marks. Reason number 2 is that if you have checked assignment 1 yet, it is all about creating a custom word mark. So we want to make sure that everybody is clear on word mark win, so that you have the necessary background that you need. So you will be creating a word mark for assignment 1. And now I'm suddenly thinking of all the different W words and winning and won, and yeah. Wow, this week I thought was going to be brought to you by the letter L, but it might be brought to you by the letter W for word mark. But yeah, so anyway, that's kind of why we're focusing on this element of the logo compilation, as opposed to the others that are out there. Okay, so what does it take to win with word marks? Basically, it takes the remembrance, the reminder that really everything matters. So kind of as we said with letter marks, you really can't hide behind anything. You can't hide behind a symbol or a mascot or an emblem or whatever. With a word mark, everything matters. So your letter choice, so what kind of font you choose, matters to communicate your client's message. The spacing between the letters matters. So, if it's spaced really tightly, it feels kind of packed in. It feels kind of more energetic. It feels kind of more like high energy type deal. Whereas if it's spaced out, it feels more like taking a breath, kind of more relaxed, more casual. Orientation, if you decide to run your letters vertical as opposed to horizontal, that means something. If you flip a letter backwards, that means something. And then also scale tends to mean something as well. So how each of the letters relate to one another. So, if you decide to make a letter big, that means something. If you decide to make a letter tiny, that means something. So when you're making a word mark logo, you really have to think about each letter as its kind of unique, kind of artsy element all on its own, and how it relates to the rest of the letters, and then how the word itself looks is very important, and it's something that you really have to think about as the designer. So in some ways, I think word mark logos are, in theory, the easiest type of logo to design, because it is just a company name written out. But to really design a word mark logo well is a very tricky thing, because you have to be just very thoughtful and considered in everything that you're doing, and really be able to see kind of that tiny picture and big picture all at once, and kind of hold that together. So winning with word marks, basically everything matters. And I will challenge you, especially in this first assignment, to really consider kind of the detail level of things that you just might not have thought about before. So choice, letter choice, spacing, orientation, and scale. Okay, so you can see here, making a successful letter mark requires a very high level of intentionality. So you're taking it all in, you're taking in your fonts, your spacing, that sort of thing. With a solo word, there is no room for hiding, so the word has to be it. So the word is the thing, and you really want to design accordingly. Okay, and leading up to that, kind of how to help you design, how to help you think about your word mark, how to help you think about, kind of how to go about these decisions. We will look to our good friend, research, and design research specifically. So if you do not do your research, it will show. If you do not engage in design process as you're designing your logo, it will show. So you want to make sure that you are researching, that you are putting the hard work in, and that then you are taking what you learned from that research and really integrating it in into your final production and kind of what you're putting together in the end. So hello, design research process. All right, which is going to take us directly into our assessment for this week, and we're going to kind of go over things. But before we do that, I just wanted to show this great graphic. This is the design process. This is illustrated actually by the Chicago Architectural Foundation. A little bit biased since this is kind of like my hometown chart. But this is a very common design process chart for all sorts of just design thinking in general. So first step, define the problem. Second step, collect information. Third step, brainstorm and analyze. Fourth, develop a solution or build a model. Fifth, present your ideas to others for feedback. And then sixth, step back and then improve your design. And you'll see what I love about design process is the big arrows go this way, the little arrows go both ways. So this is very much a circle that you're always kind of engaged with and, working through and moving along that way. Okay, so let's jump in. So first off, what is the problem? And the problem is probably that you haven't read the assignment or the assessment yet. So you need to be oriented, which we're going to do. Okay, so here we are, back into the classroom. Okay, so, let's wait just 1 second. All right, so you can see here we have the assignment for week 1, and it's going to be all about creating a custom word mark. So basically how this whole mod is going to work is that we have a cumulative project. So what that means is that we're going to do kind of one project for the whole focus of the mod, and then each week we're going to do different parts of it, different elements. So I would encourage you, when you're going through this assignment at first, that you would come down here under prompt where it says cumulative project and just get a little bit more info into what it is that you're going to be doing. So we're going to dig into this a bit more in our second session, which is going to be tomorrow. So we're going to kind of go through this step by step to give you like the big picture. But if you haven't looked already and you're watching this video, or you're here and you haven't looked already, I would say just check it out, kind of see what's up, see what's going on, and then be sure to tune in to tomorrow's session so you can kind of get the kind of more robust overview. So here's kind of the overview. So the important thing all the way down here is the assignment instructions. And so for this week, you're going to begin work on your custom logo by creating the following elements. and those are going to be 3 custom word mark directions. So basically what you're going to do this week for your assignment is to create 3 different word mark possibilities for one of 3 companies that you can find outlined in this folder. So basically click here on the folder and it's going to do its thing. Download, open it, and see what's here. So in the folder itself, you'll see 3 different companies. So Wagtime, Steep, and Brooks and Emma. So 3 different clients. And basically what you're going to do is choose one of these 3, and that's going to be your company that you're going to work with for the remainder of this mod. If you have like a different company that you really want to work with, or you have your own company or something like that, I would be fairly open to you using something or someone else, but just run it past me first so I can kind of get the heads up. So that is the assignment. We're going to go into a lot more detail on this in tomorrow's session, but basically what we're going to focus on for the remainder of our time here is the assessment, which actually directly supports the assignment. And I would recommend that you actually do the assessment before you do the assignment. So I know sometimes, well, logically, I always feel like it's assignment and then assessment. This week, I would really encourage you to do assessment first and then do the assignment, and hopefully it will make sense why in just a bit. So here's the background. So when engaged in any graphic design project, it is very important to engage in the various steps of the design process so that the graphic designer has a good idea of all that is required for the project. So do enough research to learn about the industry, competition, and overall market surrounding the piece of design. This will make the design process proceed much smoother and solve visual problems more efficiently. When engaged in a logo design project in particular, it is valuable to explore how each keyword surrounding a company might be visually represented, including colors, shapes, imagery, etc. For example, a company whose keywords are professional, detail-oriented, and streamlined would probably look different visually from a company whose keywords are energetic, free-form, and handmade. Yes, indeed. I'm just getting mentally, as you probably are too, kind of different ideas of professional, streamlined, detail-oriented, like a bank, versus like energetic, free-form, handmade, like a children's toy company. 2 totally different logos, 2 totally different clients. Okay, so visuals for the former company might feature sharp-sided angular shapes, muted colors, intricate patterning, while visuals for the latter company might feature organic freeform shapes, bright colors, handmade ornaments, etc. So professional designers often use mood boards so they can not only tell clients about their ideas, but also show them visuals that illustrate their thinking and ensure that everyone is on the same page. When you are working as a professional designer, you will need to have easy ways to share information and updates with your clients and give them a window into your own thinking about the visuals you are creating. So basically, a lot of times, and if you guys have design experience with clients, you do kind of, sorry about that, you do kind of come up with kind of a set of mood boards, a set of kind of visual inspiration pieces, and you share those with your clients, and they actually might come up with those and share them with you and kind of vice versa, just so that you guys can all stay on the same page visually, and kind of just know what the other is thinking, kind of connect together that way. Let's see. Though you can share mood boards through emails or physical face-to-face meetings, one way design professionals are really beginning to welcome clients into their visual process is through the use of the online tool known as Pinterest. So many designers and clients will co-create Pinterest boards filled with visual inspiration and ideas about a given design project. In this way, you as a designer can easily share ideas with your clients and also open up a way for them to share as well, so you can get a better idea of their needs. So Pinterest, I don't know if you guys have heard of it. If you've tried it, it is amazing. It's kind of the best and worst thing ever because it's got so many ideas about so many different things. It can completely be a time suck, but it can also be a really, really, really good way to kind of learn and engage and just explore what's out there and expose yourself to a whole bunch of new ideas. So it's a very, very cool thing. Okay, so let's see. The saying that a picture is worth 1,000 words certainly holds true in the design process, as images can often capture emotion and spirit much better than words can. When you are designing a logo, it is helpful to show a client visuals of your ideas, in addition to using just words to describe them. This is often done by creating mood boards or inspiration boards, which are then shared with the client via email, or utilize a shared access website where the client too can contribute images and ideas to a project. In this way, the design process becomes a collaborative endeavor between you and your clients. So, for this assignment, for this assessment, you are going to engage in kind of the research part of the design process, and you're going to do some research and create create a mood board, and you're going to do that using either Adobe Illustrator or a Pinterest board. So you're going to create your mood board. First, choose one of the following methods. So an Illustrator document or a personalized Pinterest board. Then you're going to have 10 minimum, 10 items. So those items could include type samples, color schemes, photos, illustrations. The beauty of mood boards is it doesn't really matter what it contains. If you find it inspiring, pop it on a mood board. As long as you're inspired by it, that's what we're looking for. So you need at least 10 inspiring things. And that's kind of what we're going with here. So if you do it in Illustrator, here's how to save it, what to save it as. If you are creating your mood board in Pinterest, give me a link to your board, and then also take a screenshot so I can kind of see it. So this should be fun. Hopefully, at least in my mind, I think it's going to be very fun. Okay, so let's talk about how to go about doing this. Let's talk to you about just what Pinterest is. I'm going to do a brief demo about signing up for Pinterest. There's also really good content in the course media. So there's lots of good and much more comprehensive, how to actually use Pinterest, how does it work, how do you pin, how do you create new things, all that good stuff. So be sure to check that out. But yeah, we're just going to do kind of the high level intro here. So first thing I would suggest that you do is come back here to the assignment and grab do I still have it open? I don't. Grab the client list for the assignment and choose which client you're going to be working with over the course of the mod. So are you going to be working with Wagtime? Are you going to be working with Steep? Or are you going to be working with Brooks and Emma? Doesn't matter, fully your choice. I'm going to go with, I'll do Steep for right now. As my word loads up. Okay. So choose your client. And then kind of the thing to take note of is the company overview as well as the company keywords. So I'm choosing Steep. I can see they're a tea company based in Richmond, Virginia. They pride themselves on providing the highest quality teas, using the best ingredients from around the world. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. There's stuff that doesn't matter at the moment. So they're a tea company. And then they have these keywords that they use to describe themselves. So exotic, mysterious, mellow, tranquil, and calm. So the idea is that you use these company keywords, and those become almost like your compass points for when you're doing visual research. So think about what those words kind of bring up in your head. And then, think too about, things like fonts and images and color schemes, what could be there. And then also use those, those sorts of symbols and things as you're doing some different visual research. So I'm going to keep this document open, but jump back into my internet and jump onto Pinterest. So it looks like there's one student here who has used Pinterest before. Woohoo! Very cool. Hopefully you like it. Hopefully you found a million recipes that you've never discovered before but need to try, and like hairstyles and great graphic design as well. That's kind of how I feel about it. It's like a melting pot of everything. Okay, so if you haven't been on Pinterest before, you will need to just create an account. So you can browse it without an account, but because we're going to create a board, you will need to sign up and create an account. So basically how that works is, I'm going to stop sharing for just a second. And, oops. Well, that didn't work. Let's see, login, sign up. Okay. So now let's see, hopefully this is not going to just automatically log me in as me. Auto login, so fun. Okay, so basically how it works is you're gonna go to pinterest.com, and there's going to be, if you haven't ever been on before, there's gonna be a spot where it says sign up. So how you sign up is you could sign up through Facebook, if you're cool with that. You could sign up with Google if you have that connected, or you could just sign up via email and password, and then just create an account. And it's super easy. So you just put that in, and then you go on from there. So I'm going to just stop sharing for 1 second, because if you're like, this is very disjointed, it kind of is, but because I have an account and it's tied to something else, I'm trying to trick the system, and it makes it a little bit difficult, but that's okay. Okay, so here's, so just type in your email address, type in a password, and click continue. And then it's going to say sign up to see more. Full name, age, I don't know if that really makes a difference. And just don't continue as a business. Click sign up. It's all about mining your personal demographics, which if you don't want to sign up for this, that's fine. Which is why we have the other options. Okay, so what are you interested in? Pick 5 or more to discover new ideas. So basically what it's trying to do is just like say, hey, what are you into? So it's going to just tailor your feed to whatever it is you might be into. So let's do design, art, and I don't know if you really need even, I guess you do need to follow 3 more. Okay. What else could I be interested in? Drawing, life quotes, cute summer outfits. Oh, and one more. Portrait photography, sure. Okay, so you just choose your 5 things, whatever they might be, and then click done. And then building a home feed with your pins. Oh, pretty cool. Okay, so basically how it works, yeah, you see lots of different pins. You can download the app, and this is where it gets fun, because it's just these little pictures of everything that like you potentially never knew existed, but are so cool, and just really fun stuff as well. So, if you look here, oh, how cool, little illustrations, hairstyles. So super fun things. Emblems, whatever. Okay, so how this works with the whole kind of creating a board and saving things, and especially creating kind of a mood board using Pinterest for this assessment, is you'll see I clicked on this thing that says trendy branding logos. Oh, how appropriate is that? Okay, and you'll notice that there's this little button that says save, and like it's got this nice flashing blue circle on it. So basically what this button is telling me is click here to save. And basically what it's going to do is it's meaning click here to pin. And so this is something that, you know, I might want to pin to a mood board because it might inspire my design process, inspire my working, that sort of thing. So Pinterest works like a giant cork board. So you pin things to it digitally. And so you find cool inspiration that you want and you pin it. And that's kind of how you kind of collect and curate what you have. And you can pin, I would say primarily just for this assessment, pin off of Pinterest itself. But you can, you know, pin off of the internet as well, as if you find some good images. But it's a little bit more advanced. So be sure to consult the course material for that to kind of get the good overview. Okay, so I will give into this flashing blue circle and click save. And then when you click on it, save this pin for later, save. And you'll see here, create a board for your pin to live on. So we need to create a board, and then my pin will get stuck there. So I'm going to name my board Steep Tea Inspiration. So I would encourage you guys, if you're using the Pinterest option, to name your board whatever your client is. Okay, so once you type that in, I'm going to click create, and it'll tell you saved. And you can go on from there. So I have my first board, and I have my first pin on my board. So I'm going to pin a couple more things, and then we're going to go visit my board. So I'm going to do another search. So this is still kind of showing me just look at this logo creation kit, genius. So this is showing me just kind of some generic stuff. So I'm going to do a search for tea logos and see what comes up. It's kind of good to do a search for the competition to kind of see what other companies are doing that are within your industry. So for me right now, it is Steep Tea. You'll see here's a whole bunch of other like different kind of keywords you could search on. So I did tea logos. So it's like, hey, milk tea logos, green tea logos, you know, so you can click on any of these and get taken somewhere. So I'm just going to stick with this. But so any of these things you see, you can click on, and this is where you'll notice that I'm super, say do. I love this. So it's very easy to get distracted, but it's also kind of good to be distracted and open to kind of what's out there, because you never know what's going to be the right inspiration. So here's another one. So look at it, see if you like it. I love it. Say do. So click save. Choose board. So your board should probably be the first one, or you could create a new one, but pin it to your board and just click save. Save to Steep Tea. Okay. Then click your X and keep on looking. As I'm looking through these, I'm specifically looking at logos that are kind of more word marks in themselves. So kind of that feel streamlined, that sort of thing. I could be looking at color schemes. I could be looking at layouts. But right now I'm just kind of looking at this. So that's if you're wondering what I'm into, that's kind of what I'm doing. So save, save. So super, super easy. And it just tells you what you're doing. It also gives you these helpful suggestions like, hey, we know you visited this. You want to come and try this as well? So this is kind of a cool font. I like that. Every wild moment. Oh, so cool. Okay, so you could also visit that site if you wanted to. Okay, but I'm just going to save the image. Okay. So I have 3 things pinned to my board. I need 6, or I need 6 more, so I need 10 things altogether. But we're not going to, I don't think I need to go with that anymore. But let's talk about how we see our board, actually how we find it. So I'm just going to click on my name, and that's the way you see my board. So this is my, here's my board so far. I just found it through clicking on my profile and click on Steep Tea Inspiration. And here is my, here's my board so far. So I have this kind of abstracted logo. I have this cool thing. I have this chai. I have this piece right here. So kind of cool stuff. So if you need to edit, if you need to change, if you need to shift, whatever, you can just click on this. It kind of looks like a little pencil shape. So click on it, and then if you want to, move it, I think it says, delete it. If you want to delete the pin, you can get rid of it. Something that I think is helpful too is where it says description. If you want to just, delete that and maybe write a couple words about what you liked about this pin. And, you don't have to do this, but this is just to help you kind of remember why you pinned it, kind of what was speaking to you, that sort of thing. So for this one, I would say something like, love this brush-like font, may be good for the steep name. And then just click save. So these are just like little notes to yourself. So this one, I might write something like, so delete all that. Tell us about this pin. Love the simple look of the name, and also how widely spaced the letters are. It feels very calming. And then save. So just little notes to yourself to help you kind of stay organized. And the cool thing too is if you were working in working with a client on things, you would actually most likely write them a little note about why you liked whatever it is that you liked. And, they can add their comment too. And so you guys can have almost like that dialogue in Pinterest itself. So we're not going to do that for this assessment because this is just you kind of practicing your Pinterest skills, your mood board skills. But in a professional context, it's really cool to be able to kind of communicate with clients in these ways, because they'll pin up stuff, give you comments, you can pin up stuff, give them comments, and kind of take this dialogue in a pretty dynamic way that feels like you're meeting, even though you're not physically meeting together. Okay, so along those lines, I'm actually going to show you one thing on my own Pinterest page, which is actually just what I was talking about with kind of communicating with the clients. As I'm pulling this up, if you guys are here and you have any questions, or if you are watching via video and you have any questions, feel free to let me know. And I will try to answer them. Of course, I'm trying to pull up something and it's not working. So we'll try to see if it works now so I can show you the show you what I'm meaning. Uh, oh man, okay, I guess it's not going to work. All right, well, I was going to show you a board a client had recently shared with me, and we were collaborating on, but it's not working well, so we're not going to do that. All right, 2 more seconds. See if it works. Okay. All right. Well, we won't we won't prolong this, but we'll try. Okay. So the main goal is to figure out kind of how you want to go about working in the assessment. Oops. I guess the main goal too is to get Zoom back up. But yeah, so the main goal is to really figure out how you want to work for your assessment, how you want to kind of overall construct your mood board, and then go from there. So we're gonna open up Illustrator for the last couple minutes of class, and just go over ways that you can think about gathering inspiration for your mood board, and then constructing it in a less networked, less internet way, and more just kind of working in Adobe. So I'm going to open up Illustrator first, and if I can find it, there it is. Okay, so kind of key things. First, go to the assignments, find that folder to download, choose one of the 3 companies. Second, go to the assessment, and then consider if you want to do Pinterest as your 10 mood board item creation, or if you want to do Adobe Illustrator and go that route. So there's really no, one is not inherently better than the other. It's kind of just what you want to do is fine with me. So, okay. So we're going to open up Illustrator, new document, and we are going to size it at 11 by 17. And it can be either portrait or landscape, whatever you want to. I think I'm going to do landscape and create. And then first and foremost, make sure that you are saving your piece first. So File, Save As. And we're going to see what we are saving this as. So come all the way down here. Okay, assignment 1, first, last. So it's easiest if you just highlight copy and then come here and paste. And then you can just augment whatever you need to change. And we're just going to save it as a .ai because you do want your native file. So we're just going to save that and okay. Okay. And as far as finding kind of visual inspiration online, you guys can visit whatever, sources, sites, etc. You feel like best best fit, kind of what where inspires you, I would actually probably recommend Pinterest, just because they have so many cool things there, and so many interesting things that you can kind of take advantage of and, excuse me, and see and just, have that exposure to. So how I would do it is just once again, go to Pinterest, search now. I'm going to search again for T logos. And then whatever you like. I won't do the same ones. I guess I could, but let's click on this tea house. Kind of cool. And so what you can do here is you could do a right click or a control click, and then do save image to downloads and grab it that way. Or you could do Shift Command 4 and take a screenshot. So kind of whatever, however you get this, you just need, whatever's inspiring you. So I would recommend not doing, well, if you have something that's big like this, just take a screenshot of what you want. And if it's the whole thing, that's, you're going to have to do it in chunks, but that's fine as well. You can kind of just target like what exactly you're inspired by, and kind of go from there. So let's say I like this. So Shift Command 4, and then just grab the screenshot. Okay, and we'll do one more. So I have three things to play with. I actually like this color scheme a lot. Okay, Shift Command 4, and take that. Okay, now we're going to come back into our Illustrator. And basically, when you create a mood board in Illustrator, what you want to just be aware of is creating a very kind of clean, clear grid with your elements. So you want things to look organized and tidy. You don't want it to look like you've just thrown them up there. You want it to look like you have a good sense of organization. So what I'm going to do is just go to File and Place. And then I'm going to find my screenshots. Click once. Okay, and I'm going to do that with all 3. So you're going to have 10, so you're going to have to be a little bit creative in how they fit. So I'm just clicking once, and then I can always resize. So File, Place. Actually, wait, cancel. After you place, just click to deselect, so you can get a new item placed as well. You don't have multiples. And click. Okay. So don't do this. Instead, resize these things and kind of put them into a pleasing arrangement that feels very clean and clear and has fairly good alignment. So keep equal spacing in between your imagery so it feels ordered, kind of tidy. If you want to put frames around things, that's fine. Anything like that, but just kind of, try to keep it clean in a lot of ways. Another thing you can do too, if you're creating in Illustrator, is if you want to pull a specific color scheme from an image itself, that's super easy to do. Just draw a square and then grab your eyedropper tool and then click on something that you enjoy the color of. And you'll see that your square then turns into that color. So that's kind of cool. And I would take a color scheme as, consider that as one element. So you need to have 10 elements all together. So, a color scheme could be one of those things. Let's just resize this so it's about the same size as that image. So that's fair game. And as you saw that my Illustrator just did, it kind of wants these two things to have the same kind of gutter in between them. So, and I want that too, so it's deeply helpful. You may, have a font as your inspiration. So I might write Steep Tea. and then make it into Beverly. Maybe that's a good font I want to use. So the word written out in a font, this counts as one piece of inspiration. So this is going to be number 2 when I change the font to something different. Ooh, that doesn't work at all. So this is the second one. So the idea with a mood board, you're exploring, you're seeing what your options are, you're testing what's out there, you're seeing how it might look in different ways, how it feels in a different sense, and what the ideas are. So far I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I would need 3 more just bits of visual inspiration, whatever that might be. And I'd have to be clever about how I got them to fit, because right now I'm feeling a little bit full, but I'm sure we could figure that out. So with the mood board created in Illustrator, you just want to be very careful about your arrangement overall. You want it to feel neat and tidy, and you want to get your images. You could take pictures if you want to. That's fine too. So take pictures with the camera, grab things off of Pinterest, grab things off of the internet. It doesn't really matter, just whatever kind of speaks to you, whatever makes you feel excited, gets your creative juices going. Whatever you feel good about. So when you're all done with your Illustrator piece, just come in here, File, Save As, and change your format to PDF, and click Save, and click Save. And then that's what you're going to turn in. Okay. Well, I see that is just about bringing us to 4 o'clock Central, which is 3 o'clock Mountain, which means we are coming to the end of our class. But yeah, thanks guys for a great first session. Hopefully you feel like you've gotten your minds kind of re-engaged regarding logos, kind of what they are, what goes into them, how they get put together, how you can define them, all that sort of thing. I would encourage you to jump into discussion sooner than later, and then also look at the assignment, look at the clients, kind of get your feet under you regarding what's coming up with this cumulative assignment. It's really cool because you get to work on it kind of step by step, but you want to stay on top of it because it is going to go a bit quick. So you want to make sure you don't get behind at any point. So in tomorrow's session, just kind of a preview, we're going to dial a little bit deeper into the cumulative assignment. We're going to just kind of look at the different parts for a big overview about where we're headed. And then we're going to open up Illustrator and talk about a couple different ways of making a custom logo. And we're also going to talk about typography considerations in logo design to make sure that we're really fine-tuning our typography and really using it to communicate some good stuff about our brand keywords, and all that sort of thing. So definitely stick around, watch, and if you can make it, we would completely welcome you. So Tuesday and Wednesday, 1 p.m. Mountain Time. So for those of you guys who are here this session, thanks. It was great having you. Hopefully you had fun as well, feel more oriented. Otherwise I'll look forward to seeing you see me via video or whatever. And hope you guys have a great rest of the day, whatever day it might be for you. Take care, everyone.